but we got something. But we got to move on to, of course, the big one, the Super Bowl, the picks. Now, Champ and I, we gave our picks. We have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are favorite to win that one. They're a 1 point favorite. BRF, obviously, you're going with the Chiefs because at the end of the day, as long as 15 is at quarterback, nothing else matters.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to become he's becoming this generation's Brady. And people might not want to hear it, but he's becoming this generation's Brady. You can't give him too much time on the clock, whether it's the end of the first half or the end of the fourth quarter. You can't give him too much time on the clock. You can't leave him hanging around if you have a lead. I mean, it's just like no lead is safe when you have a Patrick Mahomes and an Andy Reid as your head coach and as your play caller. No lead is safe. And I see people talking like, well, in talking about, like how, like running backs have like done well against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And like, well, what is Saquon Barkley gonna do? Kansas City's got that extra week to prepare. So Kansas City's got a scheme up their sleeve to be able to, if not stop Saquon Barkley, because I don't think you can, slow him down enough to where you're making Jalen Hurts beat you from inside the pocket. Jalen Hurts is still a really good creator out the pocket. He's obviously one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. You have to somewhat keep him in the pocket. I still feel like the best way to beat the Philadelphia Eagles is keep him in the pocket. Just keep him playing as a traditional quarterback. When Jalen Hurts is making plays with his feet, he's getting out of the pocket. When you're having to focus an extra defender on him, but you're taking a defender away from his targets and he can hit somebody in stride open, you're opening up way more for the Philadelphia Eagles offense to take advantage of. And then when you open that up, you're taking a defender out of the box. Here comes 26 doing what he's been doing all year, and that's that's gashing everybody and running through and running around and backwards hurdling everybody. I mean, he's right now. You can make a case top 5 running back season ever. I think you can make a case. I mean, like just coming
Even
into
better
it,
than
coming.
Terrell Davis.
Uh,
If he can win the Super Bowl, I'll put him in that. I'll put him in that echelon.
I think, yeah,
I've said it before.
I think honestly, with I don't know, the situations are really similar though, because we know the offensive line that Terrell Davis had in Denver. They had to. I mean, you can't sit here and say there was an offensive line those back-to-back years. You can't say there was an offensive line better than the Denver Broncos had in 97, 98 when they went back-to-back. There wasn't a better offensive line. And I think you can kind of say that with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the only offensive line in the National Football League that compete with the Philadelphia Eagles on a down basis are the Detroit Lions. I think they're the only offensive line that can really go blow for blow with them. But I mean, Detroit's not here. They got put out in the divisional. So, I think what they do in the Super Bowl, as far as like from an historical standpoint with Saquon Barkley's season, was going to tell a lot as far as where we put it historically. Because I definitely think it's already a top 10 running back season of all time. And depending on what he does here, we could definitely start talking about top 5 seasons of all time. But just going back to the game and just analyzing it, I just look at it from a standpoint of, for Philly to win this game, they have to strike early, they have to strike often, and that defense has to keep doing what it's been doing as far as getting after the quarterback, speeding Patrick Mahomes' clock up, and ultimately getting takeaways. They have to be the enforcer here. They have to be the ones dictating the tempo of the game, because if you give the Kansas City Chiefs any leeway to snowball this game, no team can snowball a game especially in the playoffs. No team can snowball a game better than the Kansas City Chiefs. If you give them just the slightest hair of a leeway, they will take that. And next thing you know, Patrick Mahomes is celebrating his fourth championship. Philadelphia has to be on the attack from first quarter to fourth quarter, and they can't let off because it's like I said earlier, no lead is safe. You have to put them in you have to have them in a situation where the foot is on the throat in the fourth quarter, and you have to bear down. You cannot let up on the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Philadelphia has to win this game by taking advantage of it early and controlling the pace and knowing who you're dealing with, but knowing that this is probably one of the more vulnerable Kansas City Chiefs teams that there have been. Even though they are turning it up in the playoffs, they can be had. Philadelphia does that from first quarter on. They have to attack. Kansas City, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Do what's brought you here. Do what's brought you 3 championships in the last 4 years, which is Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, offensively from a schematic standpoint, being better than just about everybody in the league. Having Isaiah Pacheco back helps. Having Kareem Hunt as depth definitely helps as far as with the play action and for Mahomes being able to get it to Kelsey and Worthy and all those guys. So this is going to be a chess match. I'm excited because the line hasn't really moved that much for a reason. This is going to be a close game. I feel like it's going to be a chess match. It's just going to be a matter of we always say, the old cliche lines like who makes more plays and all that stuff. I think this game is going to come down to coaching. You got Nick Sirianni for Philly. You got Andy Reid for Kansas City. Who's going to show up when it matters? Yeah, who's going to show up the most when it matters, when it's time to make that crucial play call to either get you a big score, to get you a first down, to potentially put it in a situation where you can kill some clock, is what it's going to come down to. Yeah, you're usually going to pick Andy Reid in those situations like that, but you got to admit, Nick Sirianni, he's looked pretty good in these playoffs so far. Granted, he's really only played one close game in the playoffs. His team stepping up. I feel like his play calling has stepped up. His situational awareness has stepped up in these playoffs. I mean, it's just he's got to keep it. He's got to keep it up. But going against the Kansas City Chiefs will make you do things you don't normally do. So he's got to be able to maintain that focus going against Kansas City because this the big dog. This is the king. And when you're going up against the king and you're having to make certain situations, certain play calls, certain situations, you sometimes if the game's close, you tend to kind of tense up. You tend to freak out. So can he keep his focus and maintain his composure to be able to lead his team to possibly their second to what this will be the Philadelphia Eagles like second championship in the last the second title in 8 years if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, I'm kind of anxious to see. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yep, 8 years. I'm gonna go with the Eagles. Although I can't stand the Eagles because of some of them crazy Eagles fans in Philadelphia. Y'all get on my nerves, but that's a story for another day. Look, Nick Sirianni, learn from the predecessor, Kyle Shanahan. Do not, under no circumstances, do not take the ball out of 26's hands. Do not take the ball out of 26's hands. Jalen Hurts doesn't need to play as well like he did in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. He just needs to play good enough. Just good enough. Situational football, go through the progressions, go through the reads. The only way they can contain Saquon, and I agree with Last Word. Shout out to Last Word. I was checking out his pod. He said something. They're going to have to stack the box and basically dare Jalen Hurts to throw the football. I don't see Jalen Hurts throwing the football as much. I do see Saquon running it more as long as they manage time of possession, as long as they keep 15 on the sidelines, not on the football field. And more importantly, they not only have to take care of the football, penalties. Do not be surprised at all. It's going to come down to a controversial penalty. Do not be surprised with that. Nick Sirianni, here's all of I am concerned about the report about the Eagles with the flu with Jalen Carter. I still believe the Eagles will be at their best. The X factor to me is Brandon Graham because he's coming back. Just like you mentioned with Pacheco coming back, so is Brandon Graham. Now, I am concerned with Russ, but I do believe he will step in. I think the Eagles win this one 30-24. 30-24. I think with Carter and Davis getting after Mahomes, I think it does help. Now, the Chiefs running defense, I do not see the Chiefs running defense being as awful as Washington's rushing defense. That was the primary reason why I picked the Eagles over the Commanders, because the Commanders, they were 30th in the NFL in stopping the run. Okay. So against that offense with that O-line and Saquon running the football, no. Now, if you look at Pro Football Reference, I'm just looking up it right now as far as rushing defense is concerned. I don't know they are rushing defense. Let me see. Philly is no. I know Philly is number 1 in passing defense, the number 2 in scoring defense. If I can just find the rushing defense. Yes. If you look at Philly, their rushing defense, they're 10th in the NFL. If you look at Kansas City, they are 8th. So Kansas City could actually do something as far as not stopping Saquon, but at least to some extent containing. I think it comes down to situational football. I think the pressure is going to be on Kansas City to three-peat, something that's never been done in NFL history. Okay, even though Philly has the more complete team, I think they have the better roster. But I think the pressure is going to be on Kansas City to win because of the three-peat. But if they do three-peat, we really going to have to revisit the conversation, is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT? If that happens, I believe the Eagles win this one 30-24. I actually see Saquon winning Super Bowl MVP. 22 carries for at least 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 on the air, 1 on the ground. And other than him, either Jalen Hurts or Jalen Carter. Champ.
Me. Hey, Philadelphia, the Georgia Eagles, Philadelphia Bulldogs. Bring it on home, man. I'm rooting for you. Hey, look out for Jordan Davis. That defensive line, especially with Brandon Graham back now, it's going to be as dangerous as ever. I think this is the best team that the Kansas City Chiefs has faced thus far. They have everything in order to win. They have the running backs. They have the quarterback play. They have the line. They have the defensive line. They have the back end. They have the front. They have the front seven. They have everything complete in order to win this. It's all going to come down to one thing, though. Can the Philadelphia Eagles coach out-coach the great Andy Reid? That's what it's going to come down to. But overall, I think that this year is the year of the Eagles. So fly, Eagles, fly, and bring that Lombardi trophy to the NFC, back to the NFC. In Georgia, my Georgia Bulldogs that play for the Philadelphia Eagles, good luck. I believe you're going to bring it home. And make that trip down here to Athens as well, so you could go ahead and pay tribute to Kirby Smart with that Lombardi too while you at it.
I think this is going to be a great one. But guys, I will say this, and this is a caveat. I don't like getting into conspiracy theories and all that other stuff. Don't be surprised that there's going to be some controversial calls by the refs.
That's every Super Bowl, though, man. I mean,
I know, Champ. I know it's
yeah.
every Super Bowl, but when you look at the Chiefs and Roger Goodell, he did the press conference. He denied the controversial calls. Don't be surprised, because if you look at the AFC Championship game, I kind of saw some controversial calls, that QB sneak with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought he got in.
I mean, I thought he got in too, but the thing is this. All of y'all have been athletes. PSP, you've been an athlete. BRF, I'm pretty sure you have been an athlete. And I myself have been an athlete. And I'm going to tell you, rest in peace to one of the greatest of all time. Marvin Hagler always said this, because I never forget, he got cheated out of a world title when he was
Sugar Ray Leonard.
No, not that one. But when he was going for his first world title, that one too. But when he was going for his first world title, he was the clear winner of the match, and they didn't give it to him. And you know what he said? You know what he said at that press conference? From now on, these are going to be my judges. And the thing is, Philadelphia, you got to bring it out, and you got to let these, or in your case, that football, be your judge. You got to come out here. You got to put it on them like you never put it on the team before. You got to run Saquon, and you got to do everything that you can to keep these guys at bay. Don't go away from what you did, but at the same time, don't stick to too much that you have done. You have to come out here and get it done, and you have to let that football be your judge. And with a lot of plays, it don't just come down to that one play. It's a multitude of mistakes that lead up to that play. So Philadelphia, in the great words of Marvin Hagler, the late great Marvin Hagler, one of the best middleweight champions of all time, you have to let your play and your football be your judge. In other words, you have to score every time you get that ball, and you got to hold them every time they're on the field. Now, I know that's not possible, but you're going to have to do your damnedest and play that. You're going to have to play mistake-free football. One slip up, you a little slow, you a little late, and you know it's over. So let the football be your judge, and do not leave it in the officials' hands.
Well said, champ. And for those who may be wondering, I will be doing a sports PSP pod right after the Super Bowl. Champ and BRF, you're more than welcome to come in, give your analysis of the game, and we will talk about a lot of stuff regarding the Super Bowl.